These days, trying to find a used car that is both affordable and reliable feels like trying to find a parking spot at a Walmart on Black Friday. Everyone tells you it exists, but when you get there, it is chaos, frustration, and regret. Dealerships are asking wild money for cars with questionable histories, mystery smells, and warning lights that look like a Christmas tree. Meanwhile, people are out here paying premium prices just because a badge sounds familiar at family barbecues. But today, here on Greybeard Garage, we are doing the exact opposite of what the internet usually does. Instead of hyping the same obvious cars everyone already knows about, I'm showing you 4 affordable cars that almost everyone skips. Not because they are bad, but because people simply do not understand how good they actually are. These are the kind of cars that quietly rack up mileage while their owners argue with their friends who are stuck making payments on something flashy and unreliable. I sat down with a mechanic buddy of mine who has owned his own shop for over 25 years. This is the kind of guy who has seen everything, from engines run without oil to transmissions destroyed by people who think maintenance is optional. He watches hundreds of cars roll through his shop every single month. He knows exactly what breaks, what survives abuse, and what keeps coming back only for oil changes and brake pads. I asked him a simple question. If you had to buy a cheap used car today with your own money, what would you buy? The list he gave me was eye-opening. When I started digging into the data, ownership reports, reliability scores, and real-world repair histories, everything lined up. These cars are legitimate daily drivers that can comfortably reach 300,000 miles with basic maintenance. And here is the funny part. They sell for thousands less than cars like the Camry or Accord for one simple reason. They are not trendy. They do not impress your neighbor. And they definitely do not get likes on social media. But your wallet will absolutely love them. So if you are tired of overpaying, tired of repairs that feel like a second rent payment, and tired of being told you need something newer to be reliable, this video is for you. Stick around, because these cars are hidden gold mines hiding in plain sight. Before we get into the list, do me a favor. Subscribe to Greybeard Garage, hit the like button, and drop a comment telling me what car you think is secretly reliable that nobody talks about. It helps the channel more than you think, and I read every comment. Buick Regal GS. Let us start with a car that most people scroll past instantly, usually while saying something like "this is a grandpa car," or "my uncle had one and it smelled like menthol cigarettes." And that reaction right there is exactly why this car is such a steal. The Buick Regal GS is criminally overlooked, and honestly, it feels like cheating when you understand what it actually is. Most buyers under 50 will not even click the listing because it says Buick on the hood. They assume it is soft, boring, and built for slow trips to the grocery store at 7 in the morning. Meanwhile, this thing is quietly laughing at BMW owners stuck with repair bills that look like student loans. You can find a Regal GS for around $15,000 to $20,000, while a comparable BMW 3 Series is easily pushing $30,000 or more with similar mileage. Here is the secret nobody talks about at parties. This car was built in Germany. Not inspired by Germany. Not styled like Germany. Actually built there by Opel. It shares its platform with the Opel Insignia, which means German chassis tuning, German suspension geometry, and German build quality. So yes, you get that planted highway feel where the car tracks straight even when crosswinds are trying to ruin your commute. Now here is where it gets funny. German cars are famous for engineering engines that feel amazing right up until something breaks and your mechanic starts breathing heavily while opening the estimate. BMW, Mercedes, Audi, they all love complexity. Turbochargers everywhere, plastic parts where metal should be, and labor times that make you question your life choices. The Regal GS dodges all of that nonsense. It takes that German body and pairs it with one of General Motors' most proven engines, the 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6. No turbo to fail. No tiny overworked engine screaming for mercy. Just a straightforward, understressed motor that has been used in millions of vehicles. By the time the later models rolled out, General Motors had already sorted out the timing chain issues from the early 2010 to 2012 versions. The result is an engine that just runs, like a coffee maker in an office that never gets replaced because it refuses to die. And then there is the transmission. The all-wheel drive GS models use an 8-speed automatic supplied by a Japanese manufacturer known for building extremely durable transmissions. This is the same supplier trusted by Toyota. Think about that for a second. German chassis, American proven engine, Japanese transmission. That is like assembling the Avengers of reliability. Driving one feels like a luxury car, but owning one feels like a normal sedan. Parts are reasonably priced. Repairs do not require removing half the front end. And insurance companies do not freak out when they see the badge. Meanwhile, your neighbor with the used German luxury car is budgeting for repairs instead of vacations. This is the kind of car you buy when you want to look calm on the outside while knowing you made a smarter decision than most people in the parking lot. It will handle highway miles with ease, soak up rough roads, and still feel solid long after trendier cars have started rattling like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. That is the Buick Regal GS. A car people ignore, laugh at, and underestimate. And that is exactly why it is such a hidden goldmine. Mazda 3. Coming in next is a car that lives in a very strange place in the used market. Everyone knows it exists, nobody gets excited about it, and almost nobody gives it the respect it deserves. The Mazda 3 is that quiet coworker who never talks in meetings but somehow does all the work while everyone else takes credit. On paper, this car should cost the same as a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla. In reality, it is cheaper, better to drive, and often more reliable in the long run. And the reason is simple. Mazda refused to follow bad trends while everyone else jumped headfirst into them. While Honda and Toyota were experimenting with CVT transmissions and downsized turbo engines that sound great in marketing brochures but age like milk, Mazda said no thanks. They stuck with a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter four-cylinder and a traditional 6-speed automatic. That decision alone saved owners thousands of dollars in future repairs and a whole lot of stress. Here is where the engineering nerd magic happens. Mazda designed their automatic transmission so the torque converter locks up almost immediately once you start moving. Most automatics slip for comfort, which creates heat. Heat destroys transmissions faster than a teenager destroys a clutch. Mazda said nope, locked it down early, kept temperatures low, and dramatically extended transmission life. Consumer Reports gave the powertrain from the mid-2010s Mazda 3 a perfect reliability score. And my mechanic buddy confirmed it in the real world. Whenever one of these shows up at his shop, he already knows how the visit will go. Oil change, brake pads, tires. That is it. No panic phone calls. No surprise bills. No arguing with a service advisor who uses the word unfortunately a lot. You can find a Mazda 3 with reasonable mileage for around $10,000 to $12,000. A comparable Civic from the same year will usually run several thousand more. That price gap is real money. That is vacation money. That is emergency fund money. That is money not handed over to a dealership for no good reason. The engine runs a high compression ratio, which improves fuel economy without using turbos or complicated hardware. It runs on regular fuel, makes decent power, and just keeps going. No turbo seals. No intercoolers. No expensive surprises hiding under plastic covers. And let us talk about daily life for a second. This car actually feels good to drive. Steering is sharp. Handling is confident. You can take an on-ramp without gripping the wheel like you are bracing for impact. It does not feel numb or disconnected. It feels like someone cared. This is the car for someone who wants reliability but still enjoys driving. Someone who wants their commute to feel less like a chore and more like a small win. It is practical, efficient, fun, and quietly tough as nails. The Mazda 3 is not flashy. It will not impress strangers. But it will absolutely impress your bank account and your mechanic. Mazda 6. This next one is the car nobody brags about, but everyone who owns one quietly smiles every time they pass a gas station or a repair shop. The Mazda 6 sits in that mid-size sedan category where people automatically default to Camry or Accord, like they are ordering the same fast food combo they have been eating for 20 years. Safe, familiar, and a little overpriced. The Mazda 6 is what happens when a manufacturer builds a sensible car and then prices it like nobody noticed. In the used market, this thing is consistently $5,000 to $7,000 cheaper than its direct competitors, and that alone should make you suspicious. But once you understand it, you realize it is not cheaper because it is worse. It is cheaper because it is ignored. My mechanic buddy told me about a Mazda 6 that rolled into his shop with over 160,000 miles. The owner bought it brand new, drove it for years, and finally came in thinking something had to be wrong by now. They put it on the lift, checked suspension, brakes, underbody, scanned the computer, checked fluids, and basically waited for bad news. Nothing. No leaks. No scary noises. No warning signs. Even the factory spark plugs still had life left in them. He told the owner to come back in another 30,000 miles and enjoy the car. Mazda made a lot of smart decisions with this generation. No CVT transmission. No dual clutch drama. No tiny turbo engine working overtime just to keep up. Instead, they used a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter four-cylinder paired with a conventional 6-speed automatic. It is boring on paper, but boring is exactly what you want when the goal is long-term reliability. In the used market, You can find a well-kept Mazda 6 for around $12,000 to $14,000. A similar year Camry or Accord will usually cost several thousand more for essentially the same job. And according to my mechanic friend, the Mazda actually asks for less money over its lifetime in maintenance. Less parts replaced. Less labor time. Less stress. Another little detail most buyers miss is where some of these cars were built. A good portion of the mid-2010s Mazda 6 models were assembled in Japan, in a plant known for extremely strict quality control. You can spot them by VIN numbers that start with the letter J. That is usually a very good sign. One important thing to know is that later versions added cylinder deactivation to save fuel. It works, but it adds extra components that can eventually wear out. The earlier versions do not have that system at all. Fewer parts means fewer things to break, which is exactly what long-term owners want. This is the car for someone who wants space, comfort, and reliability without paying a premium just for a familiar badge. It is comfortable on long trips, quiet on the highway, and dependable enough that you stop thinking about the car entirely. And that is the highest compliment you can give a daily driver. The Mazda 6 is not exciting to talk about at parties, but neither is paying for unnecessary repairs. This car quietly wins where it matters. Toyota Avalon. Now we get to the car that my mechanic buddy pushes harder than almost anything else, and for a very specific reason. The Toyota Avalon is basically the final boss of overlooked used cars. It is the car people refuse to consider because they think it is boring, too big, or owned exclusively by retirees who wear New Balance sneakers with grass stains. And that stereotype is exactly why this car is such a steal. The Avalon is a full-size sedan that shares its bones, drivetrain, and reliability DNA with the Lexus ES. Same platform. Same engine. Same transmission. But because it does not wear a luxury badge, it sells for thousands less. This is one of those rare cases where you are not paying for engineering, you are paying for perception. And perception is very expensive. Under the hood is Toyota's legendary 3.5-liter V6, an engine that has been in service for decades across multiple Toyota and Lexus models. This engine is famous for one thing above all else. It refuses to die. No turbochargers. No complicated nonsense. No direct injection headaches. Just a strong, smooth V6 that keeps running long after other cars have been sent to the scrapyard. This same engine has powered everything from family sedans to minivans, and it has proven itself in millions of vehicles. Timing chain instead of a belt. Proven internals. Conservative tuning. This is the kind of engine that makes mechanics nod approvingly instead of sighing loudly. Now let us talk real-world pricing. You can find a used Avalon in the mid-teens, sometimes even less, depending on mileage and condition. Meanwhile, a Lexus ES with identical mechanicals will cost several thousand more just because of the badge. And here is the funny part. In some cases, the Avalon is actually cheaper than a loaded Camry, despite being larger, more comfortable, and more powerful. Inside, the Avalon is quiet, spacious, and extremely comfortable. This is the car you drive on a long highway trip and arrive feeling like you did not just spend hours in traffic. Seats are wide and supportive. Ride quality is smooth. Road noise is low. It is not trying to be sporty, and that is a good thing. Sporty cars age poorly. Comfortable cars age gracefully. Maintenance costs are refreshingly normal. Brake jobs are straightforward. Fluid services are simple. Parts are everywhere. This is not a car that surprises you with four-figure repair bills unless something truly unusual happens. And even then, it is usually cheaper than repairing smaller, trendier cars. Here is a pro tip that sounds like a joke but absolutely is not. Look for one that was owned by an older driver. These cars are often garage-kept, serviced on schedule, and driven gently. A well-maintained Avalon with moderate mileage is barely broken in. It is the automotive equivalent of buying a used couch that still has the plastic on it. This is the car you buy if you want the lowest stress ownership experience possible. You get space, comfort, power, and legendary reliability, all while paying less because most people think it is uncool. And honestly, being uncool has never saved so much money. That is the Toyota Avalon. Quietly dominant, wildly overlooked, and easily one of the best values in the used car market. So there you have it. For affordable cars that the market keeps skipping, not because they are bad, but because they do not fit the image people think they want. And that is where the opportunity lives. While everyone else is chasing the same overhyped models and overpaying for familiar badges, these cars sit quietly in the background, waiting for someone who actually does their homework. Every car on this list has one thing in common. They were engineered to last, not to impress. They use proven drivetrains, sensible transmissions, and designs that prioritize reliability over gimmicks. These are the kinds of cars mechanics trust, not because of brand loyalty, but because they see the results every single day on the lift. The funny part is that none of these cars will make your neighbors jealous. Nobody is going to stop you in the parking lot and ask what trim package you have. But you know what they will do. They will keep starting every morning. They will not drain your savings account. And they will still be on the road long after trendier cars have turned into cautionary tales. This is what Grey Beard Garage is all about. Cutting through the noise, ignoring the hype, and focusing on what actually works in the real world. If you care more about long-term value than short-term clout, you are in the right place. If this breakdown helped you, do me a favor and subscribe to Grey Beard Garage. Hit the like button so more people can find this kind of content. And drop a comment telling me which of these cars surprised you the most, or which overlooked car you think deserves to be on the list. Those comments spark some of the best discussions, and I read every single one. Drive smart, maintain your car, and it will take care of you. I will see you in the next one.